Hello, and welcome to the first World of Tanks teaching episode. 2 questions have been asked. How to spot and angle your armor. Sometimes during an epic battle you have to push in a city or lose. It happens quite often on maps like Windstorm, Live Oaks, or Lake Ebel, when lemming trains are so huge that the enemy is rushing the parts of the map without cover. We can call these situations the time to spam the allies, as you are the only player who sees that you need to get the city or be flanked. If you had already lived a situation like this and started to spam the chat, congratulations. You might not have great statistics like WN8 or camp ratio, but you have team play in your mind. Let's recap the situation. Your team is totally brain dead and you need to push into the city as soon as possible, to be ready when the fast enemy vehicles will arrive on your flank. But in which vehicle? In theory, light tanks have to spot what is arriving into the city, and tank destroyers and SPG should give some fire support. So medium tanks and heavy tanks have in theory to attack the last enemy positions, then start the capture of the base or defend their one. But Houston, we have a problem. What is it? We can't see what is waiting for us. That's why sometimes people are rushing right to the death, especially if they don't have the sixth sense. So the problem is how to spot fast and take ground. If you're playing a medium top tier tank, you can use the Pikeable that we might see in a later episode. If you're playing a medium or even a heavy low tier tank, in theory, you have to support the top tiers. In theory. Because some vehicles are powerful like the OI, the E75, or the M3 and can easily deal with a higher tier. But let's be optimist. You are playing a heavy top tier vehicle, you're slow, so you can't make a surprising Pikeable to spot an enemy and shoot at it. Moreover, you don't know where the enemy tank is exactly. Is he far away from you? Is he side scraping? Is he reloading? We can't really know. So how to spot and angle your armor? To answer to Mr. Waffle's question, it is possible to give 2 answers, but they are both very similar. Yes, you are finally going to have answers. First possibility, side scraping. What a beautiful name, side scraping. It's like a dream or a chocolate for the heavy tanks. The side scraping is used to give shots to enemies without taking damage by angling your armor and bounce every shell on which is written your name. But in our case, we are just going to use it for spotting. When you don't see the enemy, you can start a side scraping and wait until the baddie will shoot and bounce or hit your track. If you know that the enemy hasn't an autoloader, doesn't have a quick reload and isn't supported, you can move, meet him and shoot at him if he isn't into a cover. But the side scraping has 2 problems, the explosive shells and internet. Why are the explosive shells laughing at the side scraping is just because they are going to make some damage and possibly critical hit if the armor isn't too powerful, of course, even if you have angled your tank. So be careful when you have a very huge caliber facing you, OI, KV2, E100, Type 4 heavy, etc. But why internet is a problem for the side scraping? Just because it's more and more known and famous. Maybe when you're playing a tier 5 or 6 heavy tank and make a side scraping, you're enjoying it. But at the 8, 9 or 10 tier tanks, players know perfectly that side scraping is saving a lot of situations. In our case, when you need to push fast, an intelligent enemy wouldn't shoot at you. He would wait or load an explosive shell, HE. There is a second possibility to spot and angle your armor. But not with all the vehicles. You must show your front lower armor plate. Yes, the lower armor plate, the place where everyone is shooting because it's a great target for the majority of heavy tanks. But look how angled it is. Be sure that you hadn't angled your tank so much that the enemy could shoot on your flank or understand your plans. The enemy, absolutely happy by seeing a lower plate, will shoot at it and bounce. At this moment, you have just to move forward and give a potato to your reloading enemy. But let's imagine that the enemy isn't stupid. He loaded an APCR shell, a standard shell with a better penetration. Don't worry, just make a side scrap. Nota bene, don't do this with a heavy tank looking like the IS-3. Well, I hope your question had been answered, Mr. Waffle. You just have to force the enemy to shoot if you want to spot him just after and give to him some damage. Be sure when you can that all the enemies have shot and are on reload before to engage them. If you didn't manage to do some damage or even to spot something, you have surprised an enemy and forced him to take cover during the reload. How not to get spotted for 15 minutes. World of Tanks. So much vehicles, so much players, so much maps, so much bugs and lags, whoops. I don't know what's about you, but I consider that at each battle there is at least one destroyed vehicle on the map. That's why everyone wants, sometimes, to not get spotted for 15 minutes on the battlefield. In World of Tanks, the random battles have 15 minutes before the end. The attack or defense battle mode have a duration of only 10 minutes. So if you don't want to get spotted for 15 minutes, you mustn't play attack or defense mode. You can easily choose it in your options. To answer to Damabiric's question, there is an answer, yes, but not every time. Let's explain this. First case, you really don't want to get spotted. You just have to go behind the cover on the bottom of the map and wait. No damage, no spot, no base capture. But you're the best sneaky player that the game had met. Second case, you decide to play artillery. But it will protect you like a submarine if you play very bad during all the battle, or if your teammates are really stupid, your team will just die like a fish on Mars. And if you don't change your position after each shot, the enemy artillery might kill you without seeing you. At least you hadn't been spotted. But if everything is going okay, don't worry, you shouldn't been spotted, even with the FV304, which is a SPG with a short range. Just look on the minimap as much as you can. Each 5 seconds is the best that you can do to be ready to move and take cover if something is happening. Third case, you don't like artillery and you don't want to look like a bot. You may camp. Unfortunately, camping isn't a cheat. So you're allowed to camp, or if you want, give fire support from distance. But even if you are just giving some cookies to enemies at a long range, you can always get spotted. It depends from different characteristics that we might see in a further episode. Fourth case, you're playing a light tank on an uncovered map, like Prokhorovka. You can detect the enemies from 2 different ways, active spot and passive spot. Active spot consists to come to the enemies. Passive spot consists to let the enemies come to you. Some brilliant people might say that this is camping. Give to them the link of this video. The passive spot isn't camping, because a camper isn't spotting enemies for his team but for himself. So let's come back to our situation, light tank plus bush plus good map plus not bad fire support from the allies equals passive spot. You can spot the enemies that are very close to you like a real ghost. So you are getting credits and experience for teamwork if you continue to be sneaky like a chocolate. And if you have a very sneaky light tank with an OP camouflage, you can make some damage time to time. And as I'm playing on World of Tanks for more than 2 years, I'll add a little personal feeling about it. I consider that abusive camping isn't very fair play, as in many games for sure. Camping is a tactic like another as the side scraping or the active passive spot. But it's used so often that the game might be very annoying time to time. I'm not against camping, I'm against abusive camping. And Wargaming understood it too, as they had made the long-range shots more difficult and the tank destroyer's view range had been reduced. I prefer to get spotted and take some damage than wait in a bush and shoot each 4 minutes, except artillery of course. That's much funnier to be in the center of the battle and have lags. Thanks for watching, don't forget to comment and like. Thanks to everyone who helped me to make this first episode and asked the first questions. Every question will be answered. Have a nice day, good luck on the battlefield and see you soon.